Hey, what's up, my comic book people? It's your boy J Rock. So today I'm gonna be hitting you with a top 20 countdown. Little something different. I haven't done that in a while in my channel. Is we're gonna do the MCU movies, Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm gonna give them to you in the order from my favorite to least favorite, and I'm gonna add some that I necessarily don't consider MCU, but other people do. And so I'm gonna add them in there because people see them that way, and it's said that they're MCU, even though just because it's said I don't necessarily see it that way because I don't see them connecting in any way. But whatever, we're gonna add those. So let me get to the countdown and let me know what you guys think about it. My number one, if you follow my channel, is no surprise, is Guardians of the Galaxy. To me, that was a game changer. It brought something new to the table. It did something that, as far as I'm concerned, hadn't been done. If it has, feel free to correct me in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Uh, it brought cosmic feel to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I don't think was there. I don't think it was there in superhero movies in general that I can remember, as far as Marvel and DC. You were in space, you weren't on Earth, you were in another galaxy. It made it seem like you were just somewhere else and it's about something new. Was comedic. It threw characters my way that I've never heard of, and it made me love them. I was totally digging them. They were funny. They were charismatic. They were a little different, kind of your oddballs, your misfits, and they made it work. They made it work. They definitely made me want to pick up their comics. That movie got me into wanting to buy comics and read comics just because I wanted to find out who these characters were. Never heard of them. So that was a game changer. It's a game changer for me, definitely. And a big part of why I wanted to watch it. I knew about this movie about 3, 4 years before it even came out, but when they were just starting to make it. Because I heard Batista was gonna stop wrestling. I was watching wrestling at the time. He's gonna stop wrestling. He's gonna be in a movie. So I was like, what movie's gonna be? And they're like, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a Marvel movie. It's like, I never heard of Guardians. So that immediately made me root for it because Batista was gonna be on it. I was like, that's my boy. I want him to be successful in life. If he wants to be an actor, more power to you. I hope you make it happen. And I was rooting for the movie to do good. I was hoping it didn't disappoint because sometimes I get my hopes up and I'm kind of overcritical of stuff. When I'm more excited about it, the more I criticize it. And this delivered. I was like, you know what? I walked out at a theater happy. I hadn't even gone to a theater like that whole year, I think. I rarely go to theaters anymore. I just wait for the DVDs to drop because I don't know. Sometimes it annoys me being around a lot of people. Then people bring their kids. Sometimes they're crying, they're making noise, and I'm just like, get me out of here, right? So I don't go that often anymore. And then also I have like a short attention span. I gotta be rewinding. Like what they say that I didn't pay attention. I was doing something else. My mind wanders somewhere else and I gotta go back. So here obviously you can't do that. So that's why I wait also for the DVD releases a lot of time now. That movie made me wanna go. That year I went to see two movies. I saw uh was it Days of Future Past and Guardians. Like they both came out right next to each other, if my memory serves me right. Not 100%, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, that was a big one. That was my number one. My number two would be Iron Man. Now, Iron Man had a lot of pressure on it. It was the first movie in the MCU made by Disney. It had to be successful, it had a lot of pressure. It's gonna set the tone for the future movies here. If it doesn't deliver, of course it delivered. It did pass with flying colors. Did magnificent. Um, I've never read Iron Man comics as a kid. Even as a grown up, I don't follow Iron Man. I don't follow Avengers. But I always thought he was like, he always had like the coolest look to him. He had this robot suit, yellow and red armor. I always thought the armor was cool. I had, I think, like 3 copies of the toy as a kid, like 3 different versions from different years. I always thought he was badass. His look and everything was tight. I always kind of wish he was included more in the X Men because that's really the main Marvel comic I follow was the X Men and some Spider Man. So I was excited to see the movie. I was like, oh yeah. Then Robert Downey Jr. was in it. I was in college at that time. So I went with a few of my homegirls. They're like, oh, Robert Downey Jr.'s back. Wooty woo. Let's go watch it. I was like, yeah, I'm waiting. I like comic book movies. Went to watch it. We all had a good time. They don't follow comics at all. They liked it. I liked it. We all thought it was a great movie. I thought the story was great. The whole terrorist thing, how they're selling weapons to the military, and all that whole vibe. It was tight. It had a realistic feel to it, especially because at that time, the whole Twin Towers thing wasn't that old yet. So definitely you got to see a little inside of let your imagination run wild a little and be like, wonder if this how stuff really goes down and so forth. And then inner company politics, how they're trying to squeeze them out of the company, that the villain, and then he wants to steal the blueprint to how to make these suits, and he wants to make his own, and it was an epic boss battle between the two in the end. I was so happy it did good too. Also, I believe in that one it brought in like a scene where you see Captain America's shield. So look at the shield there. It's dropping hints of movies to come and of other characters. So they exist in this world. It's not just one movie on its own. Then I think at the end of it, Nick Fury or someone shows up, letting you know I'm building a team. So it definitely set the tone of letting you know what's to come. So that one was definitely up there. I have that at my number two, and I think they had that movie very high on their list because it did a lot. It did a lot for the superhero genre. It set a tone for the whole MCU, and also it brought Robert Downey Jr. back on the scene because he was gone for a while. He wasn't around. He wasn't really a household name anymore. He was out there fucking up, and this resurrected his career, gave him a second chance, whole new life. So that definitely I gotta put at the number two. At number three, I got Guardians of the Galaxy Part Two. I thought it wasn't the most original. It was a lot like the first one, which is not a bad thing. I love the first one. It was my favorite MCU movie, so I'm mad at it. How can I be, right? So this one it did bring some new different things. It introduced us to these characters that have gold skin, and Warlock is one of these, right? He hasn't came out yet, but Adam Warlock is from this race that they're all gold, right? And they're supposedly very sophisticated and douchey. So you see them and you're like, oh, that's Adam Warlock's gonna come out. They hint at him at the end. And then I love the relationship between Gamora and Star Lord. They're my favorite couple in say in all of movies, but in all of comic movies for sure. They're so funny and they're like ridiculous and they bring this thing about them like very well off each other. And Yandu, you hate him in part one, and in part two, they did a great job with character development, turning kind of good in a way and helping out. And then you start liking them. You just when you start liking them, then they kill him off. So just when you're rooting for him, he sacrifices himself to help the team, and goes out very heroic. He goes out like a gangster, and I like that. I thought they did a great job with him. Much like not as epic as Terminator, but a little bit like Terminator. In part one, you hate him, he's the villain. Part two, he completely does a 360 on you. That's what we got here. So yeah, Guardians at my number three. At number four, I got the Hulk, or is it called the Incredible Hulk? But it's Hulk Part Two. Now, I don't necessarily see this as an MCU movie, but they said that it's supposedly in the MCU, so we're gonna count it in there. I love this movie. It made me like Hulk, a character I find very lame, have no interest in. It made me like the movie. It made me like the character just for this movie only, not in the comics or in the Avengers or anything like that. But I did like him in this movie, and I like Edward Norton as a actor. I think he's a list actor for sure. He's top notch. Also, the cat that plays Abomination, great actor. I love him as well. I used to like him on that show, Lie to Me, I think it's called. He was great in it, and I liked him as Abomination. Movie was dope. Also, he you really felt like he wants a showdown with Bruce Banner, and you feel the tension. It's gonna happen. They're going to a showdown. You see the build up, and it's a epic one-on-one fight, mano a mano type of thing. Right in the middle of a main street, right? The only problem I had with that movie was maybe the way they made Abomination. I kind of wish he had the ears. That's a big part of his character look, in my opinion. They didn't have him. I wish he did. That's really my only problem with it. Everything else about it was great. And at the time that that movie came out, I remember this. People were debating which one was better between that and Iron Man Part One. Some people were like, oh, Iron Man's better. Some people were like, Hulk is better. It was a legit argument because they were both really good. Over the years, Iron Man is more closely connected to the MCU, so you regard it as higher up. And the Hulk one, even though it's still good, people kind of forget about it because it's not as closely connected to the MCU because Hulk didn't get a Hulk Part 2, Part 3, and so forth like Iron Man did. But at that time, when you based on just on solo standalone movies, it was just as good. Half the people were saying Hulk, half the people were saying Iron Man. It was a legitimate argument, and there was no wrong answer. All right, so that's my number four. To round out the top five is Avengers. Now, when Avengers came out, man, this was a huge deal when this movie was gonna drop because you were getting Iron Man, Captain America, you were getting movies that were dropping little hints at that these characters were slowly gonna come together and build a team. So we were just all anxiously waiting. It was the first time that all these different movies were gonna have characters. Maybe not the first time; it might have happened before, but all these different movies were gonna have characters that were gonna tie into the same movie. They're all gonna you're like there are all these different movies. The characters are gonna be in the same one together, and we're seeing it on different franchises come together, right? So it was an exciting time for movies as well as for comic fans. Like, oh, we're getting like a first tie-in, kind of like how you do in the comics. So it's a huge deal. It had a lot of pressure on it. Was it gonna, deliver? And I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I was satisfied. I expected it to be good, and it was. I wasn't disappointed. It was fun, a lot of action. Every character had his moments. It wasn't just all about Iron Man and all about Hulk. Everybody had their moments in the movie, and I think they did a masterful job. It was great, and then, and yeah, that's the number five. It was a great movie, great time for comics, and it was showing you of things to come, what movies can do, how they can build their own universe, and how it can succeed. Right. The rest of this list is a little tricky because I don't really have any strong feelings one way or the other towards these movies. So the order could kind of change depending on the weather. The top five are movies I really enjoyed, and they're probably gonna always stay the top five. Maybe the order will slightly change, but probably not. But the rest of them, I can almost guarantee if you ask me in a month from now, it will probably be different. My sixth one is Infinity War. One of the ones I watched more recently. I was digging it. There was a lot of build up for it. Thanos to me has never been one of my favorite characters. I always found him lame, kind of weak. His look sucks. His colors are so, but they're for a villain. I feel they're too bright, not dark enough, and I just never been feeling them much. His storylines were So to me, obviously that was already a negative. I was like, this is the big bad we're building up. That's fine. I can see he's getting the gauntlets. Let's see what they do with it. Did not like the story in the comics. Luckily, they made him cooler here than in the comics. And they made a lot. I like the movie version a lot better of this character, and I like the movie version of the story a lot better than the comic. The comic one was so lame. They would have never done the comic storyline. If they did, this movie would have flopped. It would have still made a lot of money, but people would have said it sucked. Because any Marvel movie, no matter what, is gonna make money because it's already people already invested so much time in the previous movies that they gotta watch this one as well. But I was pleased with it. They built it up to be the greatest thing and so forth. I was like, let's see. Hopefully, it delivers. I wouldn't necessarily say it delivered, but it didn't suck. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's in my number six, so it's still pretty high. The villain Thanos, he was alright. I liked his sidekicks. His sidekick, the other villains around them, I thought they were pretty cool. They had cool looks to them, and they weren't just like little pawns that they just beat up really quick. They were also very powerful. But all in all, it's an alright movie. I don't have much to say about it. Most of us already seen it and thought it was okay. So it lands at number six. Okay. At number seven, I got Civil War. Now the books kind of controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm in the camp that I thought it was. I really enjoyed the book, so I was a little worried about it. Am I gonna like the movie? Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be bad? Because the comic is a coin toss, depending on who you ask. So I was scared I wasn't gonna like it. I walked in just kind of a little nervous into this one, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It delivered. It also was the introduction into Black Panther into the MCU. I thought they did a real good job with him. They gave him enough camera time and they gave him cool scenes where he's cool, you like the character, but not too much where he overshadows the rest of the already existing characters that have been here a while. Just enough where you get a little taste of what's to come and getting preparing for his own movie, build up the hype. I thought that was done very nicely. Like with Captain Marvel, I feel they just kind of dropped her into the MCU. They didn't drop Easter eggs or she didn't have a cameo or something on someone else's movie. At least not that I can remember. They did this with Black Panther, which was, I thought, the right way to do it. Yeah, I love the movie and I like what it brought to the table where it's very neutral. One guys are asking for like privacy and our rights and whatever, and the other guys are like, no, like gun registration and stuff like that. Just like the gun laws, and some are like, no, they're against it, and some are for it. So, and this movie never tells you which one's the right answer. It leaves it up to us as the audience to decide that for ourselves. You could root for one or the other. They should do that in all comics and all movies. I don't like when they just tell you in the movie this is right and this is wrong. Like, just have them do it and let us decide for ourselves if we think it's right or wrong, right? That's what good storytelling does. Just tells you the story and we debate about it, leaves it open to interpretation. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Instead of the movie just telling you. No, that's one thing I have a big problem with more in comics than in movies. That's a story for another day, though. So yeah, that's my number seven. Number eight, I have Black Panther. This was another one I was shifty on because all the stuff leading up to it, you were hearing there was gonna be a lot of like people's political agendas thrown your way and force feeding you to think a certain way, and that was really turning me off. I was really thinking, man, I'm not gonna like this movie. Like I can already tell. Once I watched it, that wasn't the case at all. I enjoyed it. It was cool. It was in my top 10. I got at number eight. Um, it didn't give you any of that. It might have slightly hinted at stuff, but not really. For the most part, it was its own thing. It didn't it was its own thing about the characters and about Wakanda and all that. It wasn't about like any political agendas, which I liked. It was about somebody trying to take over their little village. What's his name? Killmonger, and he's kind of an asshole. And a lot of people liked the way Michael B. Jordan played him. I didn't. I honestly, I haven't read him in the comics, so I don't know if that's the way he's supposed to act. But I wasn't feeling him. I felt he was trying too hard. He was a little annoying. But I was digging the actor that played Black Panther and the final scene, the final battle. I liked more what was going on in the field than the battle between Black Panther and Killmonger. That was very background noise to me. The main battle was on the field with the rhinos and the special weapons they have, the technology they have in Wakanda. That was a lot more interesting to me. I was really enjoying that young girl that the one that does all the gadgets. She was tight. I wouldn't mind seeing her in a movie where she's the main character. I don't think you could title it after her because I don't know if her name carries enough weight to it, but it could be titled like a Black Panther Part 2, but secretly it's a movie about her and she's like the main character. You know what I mean? You could definitely do that, and that way people get to see her in action. And I like to know a lot more about this character because I'm not familiar with her enough to want to know more. So yeah, that's my number eight. At number nine, I have Winter Soldier. A lot of people have this probably higher. Me, at one time, I might have had it higher. The first time I watched it like right after Guardians because they came out around the same time or right before. I don't remember. And I still like Guardians more, but I thought it was right up there with Guardians the first time I watched both. Since then, I've watched Guardians. That was what 5 years ago. Since then, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy like 20 times, and since then, I watched Winter Soldier two more times. I think, being three times. The third time, I didn't even finish watching it. And Guardians, it still has me rolling. I still love it. Winter Soldier, I really liked it the first time. As much as I like Guardians, I like both of them a lot the first time I watched them. But I think Winter Soldier, the first time I watched it, a lot of what kept me engaged was the plot twist and what's gonna happen and not knowing the next thing, all the betrayals and all that stuff, right? That's what kept me engaged. The second time, once I already knew that was gonna happen, I wasn't as into it, wasn't as engaging. Third time, I didn't even finish watching it because I was. It's like the more I watch it, the more I'm like, now that it's predictable and I know everything that's gonna happen, I'm not into it as much. As opposed to like a movie like Guardians, even though I know everything, still funny, still exciting. Even though I know the jokes are coming, I still laugh at them. You know what I'm saying? So that one, it's like the more I watch it, the more it drops. But it was a good movie. If you've never watched it before, it's a good movie initially, but I think it relies heavily on the surprise factor. That was a big downfall of it, and doesn't have that replay or rewatch value, if you will. So that's at my number nine. Number, this thing's getting me. Number 10. At number 10, I have Thor, but you know what? I'm not. What do I have? Thor or Homecoming? You know what? I didn't want to finish the rest of this list because the rest of these movies, I still have another 10 movies because there's 20 here or 21 or whatever, but I honestly don't even care about the rest of them. I don't care about them enough to want to talk about them. I'm not even gonna bother. You let me know what you have the rest of these and what order you have them in. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd be interested to know. We all have different orders. I want to see which ones are constantly in the top five or the top 10 or whatever. My bad. Maybe later I'll do the other half. Probably not though, because these movies just don't excite me enough to wanna. I don't wanna force myself to talk about something I'm just not that interested in talking about. All right, guys. I hope you like what you saw. Hit that like button, and if you wanna see more of the same, you already know what's up. Hit that subscribe button, and if you really wanna get hardcore with it, hit that bell, and it'll notify you every time I upload a new video. All right, that's all I got for you guys, and check you guys out next time.